welcome everyone to the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith stream. I've got a few guests, but they're going to be a little bit late, so it'll be just me for the beginning. So, all right, well, let's play this just for fun.
I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, so I've been looking forward to this stream for, about 6 months since I did the Attack of the Clones stream back in November. So, yeah. All right, well, let's just get onto it while we wait for other people. So, all right. Okay. So, first up, we will be going over the Revenge of the Sith annotated edition that was revealed like a month ago. So I have here, so on the left is the new version that's going to release this October, and on the right is the old version. So I just kind of wanted to have them both there to see. So yeah, I think the cover looks good, and it's cool to get more expanded universe stuff, because yes, this is a novelization of the movie, but it's got a ton of expanded universe references and things throughout that make it a really good read and worth reading, and it expands on scenes in the movie really well, and it's better than the movie. So all right, let's check some comments while we all right. Autotech, dark greetings and happy Revengeversary. Yep, happy Revengeversary, everyone. The cover's not bad, but the blood red pages look really awesome. Yeah, very fitting of Revenge of the Sith. That's good. Okay. Well, now that we got that, so we will move on to the next. And so a few weeks ago, at the tail end of April, they re-released Revenge of the Sith for the 20th anniversary. So yeah, and I did get an opportunity to go see it, which was something that I've been waiting for 20 years, as I wanted to go see it when it originally released in 2005, but I was unable to see it. So I got to see it on the big screen finally, and it was awesome. So yeah, just streamed my final comic dub earlier today to celebrate the anniversaries of The Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. Did you ever read Star Wars The Deveronian Version? I have not read Star Wars The Deveronian Version. I haven't really had an opportunity to get into the comics yet, which I'm looking forward to doing that. But I've been focusing on reading the novels first. So yeah, and also I'm trying to amass the Star Wars comics. So it's, it takes a little while. I watched the Revenge of the Sith re-release as well. Strangely, they played it in English, even though I live in Germany. Last year's The Phantom Menace release was in German. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I do find it interesting that the 19th is, also Phantom Menace's day that it was released. So I think that's cool. So today we have two Star Wars movie anniversaries. It is the Phantom Menace's 26th anniversary. So that's cool. But yeah, well, that's all I have before we get into the movie. So, all right. Oh man, it's a shame that the guests are a little late, but let's move on. All right. So, we all know what happens in Revenge of the Sith. You know, it's the culmination of the Clone Wars, and Anakin becomes Darth Vader. So I won't waste our time by, you know, going over the story. So we'll just go over. So first thing we'll talk about are the characters. So obviously, Revenge of the Sith is very focused on Anakin becoming Darth Vader, which I feel is a very important. Three. The final part of my Jedi Council Acts of War comic dub aired on Mantle. Oh, cool. Awesome. You'll be your guest. Oh. Oh. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see if we can do this. All right. So we'll just hurry and do that. All right, there you go. All right. I think that'll work, maybe. So yeah, you're more than welcome to pop on if that works. Maybe not. But yeah. So anyways, getting back to go ahead. I don't mind. All right, getting back to characters. So yeah, you have Anakin becoming Darth Vader and all that. All right, there we go. Star Wars fan animations.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Doing all right.
All right.
Ready to talk about Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, it's exciting. All right. Well, while we're waiting, so yeah, did you get a chance to see it when they re-released it a few weeks ago?
I sure did. I went with my brother. My brother was like 2 when it came out, and I was like, I want to say like 5, 6, or 7. I can't remember the exact age I was at the time, but
Yeah.
I remember it was the first PG-13 movie I ever got to see in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so excited to go, and my brother was so upset that he couldn't go. And so it was just me and my dad that went to go see it when it first came out in 2005. And then it was real fun getting to go see it with my brother again this year.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I didn't get to see it when it released in 2005, unfortunately. So, but yeah, it was great to see it a few weeks ago. Okay.
We getting Autotech in here?
Yeah, I think so. Might be popping on, so.
Okay.
All right. Oh, and yeah, they also did the annotated version of Revenge of the Sith. Oops, I messed that up. Oh.
Drafts and annotated notes that came through with the Silmarillion and the Lord of the Rings and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that kind of reading experience, and I feel like Stover's annotated notes for the Revenge of the Sith novel, which is already like a super deep dive into the Revenge of the Sith movie with the whole subplots about like, you know, the holocron vault, and you know, the idea that Anakin's wanting to learn like the force healing ability, and because he's not a master, he can't access that holocron vault essentially. And like, you know, it's stuff like that where, you know, in the movie, you know, it's kind of been memed to death at this point, but you know, Anakin's upset that he doesn't become a Jedi Master.
Yeah.
But you know, whenever you have all this extra context about, you know, what does being given the rank of master mean for Anakin, particularly in his, you know, quest to stop death, which is one of the big themes of the movie. It just very much so enriches the movie and makes for a great reading experience. And I think that Stover's notes, you know, I'm expecting them to be great. I could be wrong, but Matthew Stover as a Star Wars author has not disappointed me yet.
Yeah, it should be really interesting to see what extra things are revealed with it. All right, there you are.
Welcome, welcome.
Well, nice to be here, everybody.
Nice to have you.
So, we're talking about Revenge of the Sith, and
Yep.
yes, happy Revenge anniversary once again.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Happy Revenge anniversary.
All right.
It is here that I must make the uncomfortable confession that I have not read the novelization. I've only read a small excerpt when they had it at a local bookstore, because I wanted to see how the fight between Mace Windu and his friends versus Palpatine went, and they actually referenced Kit Fisto actually referenced what's the name of the book? The Cestus Deception. So love how this novelization made an effort to tie into other aspects of the expanded universe, and give a bit more, establish a bit more connection depth to a character who doesn't have dialogue in the movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, any other things about the book before we move on?
Nothing I haven't already said in the chat, except it appears to have red pages, or at least the outside of the pages are red, and
Yep.
I don't know, that looks really cool.
It does.
Pretty cool hardcover aesthetic.
I think that cover has two layers. It kind of looks like the that black thing that is like the outside of a Darth Vader outline. I feel like that would open separately from like the background with all the lava and the lightsaber duel.
Yeah, it's kind of like a slip cover, so you could take that off and you get the full artwork of the fire and the lava and stuff.
Yes.
All right. Let's get into Revenge of the Sith. So we'll talk about characters first. Where should we start?
Anakin Skywalker, obviously.
All right.
Yeah, the central character. Wait, no. Excuse me. The main character of Star Wars is Ahsoka Tano, and she was in the movie because she was at Padme's funeral, and she was on the call with Mace Windu.
Yep. Yeah, but strangely enough, she's not in the movies. So,
hey, you're not gonna imply that she's some sort of Mary Sue who was invented after the fact and hastily inserted into a plot she doesn't fit in, are you?
all right,
Anakin
Skywalker. All right. Well, all right. So, Anakin Skywalker, the main character of Star Wars, probably. right?
For sure, yeah.
Yep. And this is how he becomes a villain.
Yeah, rewatching the movie in the theater, I just realized all the more how much pressure was put on the poor guy, and I'm
For
a
sure.
I'm a staunch defender of the Jedi Council and the Jedi in general, but man, they did not make his life easy in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Palpatine just made it all worse.
Yeah.
Okay, I had an observation about Palpatine, but I will save that for when we are talking about him.
Okay.
One thing I appreciate is that despite how difficult it is often for him to follow the Jedi Council and be a good Jedi, you can see that he makes an active effort to try to, especially, of course, when he hesitates to execute Count Dooku, despite the fact. Okay, come on, it's literally it's like the figurehead of the war.
Yeah.
And this, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I shouldn't make this about TCW too much, but it's a very stark contrast because there he has no problems executing or threatening enemy combatants even when they are unarmed. But Dooku, he hesitates. But that makes him for a much more interesting character in Revenge of the Sith. I mean, so you can definitely see the seeds of like being manipulated by Palpatine are already there in the beginning. Obviously, when Palpatine can tell him to go against the Jedi Code and kill an unarmed prisoner, but he still cares about the people close to him because he then right immediately afterwards he disobeys Palpatine to rescue Obi-Wan. So you know, Palpatine's next move would have been to sour Anakin's connection with Obi-Wan and the other Jedi, and that's when he'll have him in his clutches.
Yep. All right.
Did anyone want to make observations about Anakin?
Yeah. With Anakin, I feel like that. Yeah, he's a good person that tries to follow the Jedi's rules, but sometimes he just that he's given a lot of scenarios where he just ends up losing some of the time, no matter how much he puts in, and then there's always Palpatine there to kind of comfort him when the Jedi are telling him he can't do this or that.
Yes, I guess I can just say it now, but one thing I really appreciate about the movie is that Palpatine seems a lot more reasonable than he ever did before, because usually he's like in all the movies that came out before this, he's either a straight up villain or a straight up villain pretending to be good, but here he's giving reasons to join the dark side that would sound reasonable for a confused and conflicted mind like Anakin's. So where you can almost see why he would become a Sith when the Sith have always been pretty much very blatant villains, especially when looking at Vader and Maul.
Yeah.
Palpatine was definitely a very well written villain throughout the whole trilogy, but really shines in Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
Yeah.
An observation I actually made for the very first time when re-seeing it in theaters a few weeks ago is in all of the Mustafar sequences, you can actually see a lunar eclipse in the background. Like you can see the sun, right, of whatever star Mustafar's son is. But there's like a lunar eclipse going on the entire time. So you see this white corona just around this black center. And one of the sort of thoughts I had of that is, obviously this is a visual effects shot. This was intentional. This was done on purpose.
Yeah.
And I, you know, don't think it's too far of a leap to say that Lucas's intention in doing that is, Anakin, even in this moment, right? You see it very clearly in the scene on the landing platform before the lightsaber duel starts. But even in this scene where he's covered by darkness, there's still a white undercore underneath.
Yeah, I didn't notice that before.
Yeah, and I think when Obi-Wan is on screen, you see the sun in the background, and when Anakin, you see like darkness and rocks and steel, which is of course some nice visual symbolism. And this doesn't have to do with Anakin in particular, but something I really appreciate about this film is that it looks very real and alive, despite how much of it is CG. And something I noticed in the theater is when Obi-Wan rides off on Boga, you can see in the background that one of the aliens falls off a platform and hangs on by a rope, and that's a CGI alien, so it's not a stage blunder that made it into the film. And it's not really slapstick because you barely even notice it. It's just something that is there that makes the film seem more alive, that there's still like stuff going on in the background that somebody would have had to think to put there. And I think that's incredible that they would think to include something like that.
For sure. Yeah. I know one of the things I've really enjoyed watching are the Corridor Crew VFX artist react videos. And they've had some people on there who actually worked on Revenge of the Sith, VFX artists and compositors. And one of the things that is just absolutely astonishing, and you can see this in a lot of the behind the scenes for the movie as well, that's included on the Blu-rays and whatnot. But they use so much practical effects in that movie that you would never even know. Like, for instance, on Mustafar, almost any time that you see lava, you're either seeing a composited live action element, like they went to Mount St. Helens when it erupted and got footage of the eruption and composited that into the movie. Like the famous shot that's like the poster shot, you can even see it right there on the cover of the Revenge of the Sith novel, the original one there, whereas there's that big geyser of lava that shoots up behind them. That was footage that was filmed at Mount St. Helens when it erupted around that time. They used the same for Lord of the Rings, actually. Not the same element, but the Lord of the Rings film crew had some people there who were shooting some footage of that. But even just like the lava streams, like the river of lava, they actually have this, like, you could almost call it like jelly or jello. I don't know exactly what the material was, but it was some sort of like liquid silicon or something to that effect. And they dyed it various shades of red and orange and all that, and then they lit it from underneath, so they had a light coming from underneath, so it would actually glow and light up their miniature soundstage. And they would shoot it under a variety of different lighting passes, and then they would blend it all together in compositing to make it look like real lava, like a real lava planet. And of course there's plenty of 3D models and other 2D composited elements in there, but like you look at the Battle of the Heroes sequence on Mustafar, and a lot of people would just go, oh, obviously it's all CG. And though a lot of it is, there's a ton of compositing going on, green screen, 2D elements, some 3D elements, but by and large, a majority of that sequence, a majority of what you're seeing pass through the lens of a camera at some point.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Anything else before we move on to Obi-Wan?
I don't think I have anything more to say on Anakin personally.
All right. Obi-Wan, the master of the chosen one.
Hello there.
Yep.
Yeah, Obi-Wan is at his best in this film. I'll always think that that the beardless Padawan Kenobi from Phantom Menace is really underrated, but again, but this is the best film for Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
no doubt. He's got so many cool, iconic lines. He gets amazing fight scenes. There's a lot of emotion, great acting from Ewan McGregor.
Hmm.
Oh man, he's got a great emotional range and all. But he also just has so many epic one-liners in the film.
Yeah.
So uncivilized. Hello there, it's over, Anakin. I have the high ground.
Hmm. So many of those have been turned into memes.
Hello there.
Yep.
Star Wars does create some of the best memes.
Yeah, that it does.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like Obi-Wan's journey became unfortunately much more again, I'm sorry if this is getting a little political, but in recent times it's much more common for friendships to grow apart because one side might be radicalized by what's the word uh parasocial relationships, and which yeah which kind of mirrors what Obi-Wan is going through here.
Yeah.
And not only does he lose Anakin, he pretty much loses everyone he ever cared about.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's honestly pretty amazing that he doesn't fall to the dark side.
Yeah.
With how much loss he had to suffer in his life.
Hmm. I
Well,
think
yeah.
that's a testament to Obi-Wan's dedication to the Jedi, that he faces all of this darkness and he still chooses to follow the light.
We should all strive to be more like Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Word.
Got anything on Obi-Wan Star Wars fan animations?
I mean, other than the fact that Ewan McGregor did a fantastic job, and as a character in this story, he proves time and time again that when rubber meets the road, he's a hero and unwavering in that, and all the way up to the very end, sending himself into self-exile with a mission to protect Luke Skywalker,
Mhm.
knowing that it will be, the better part of 2 decades before that boy even has a hope of helping him and Yoda to combat the Empire. Another thing that I think is pretty interesting about Obi-Wan at the end of the movie is he actually believes that Anakin died. He believes that, he caught fire and Obi-Wan just walked away, but that
Mhm.
Anakin would have died and succumbed to his injuries. It's not until the very ending of Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, where he's sitting there at a cantina and a news hologram comes up and, mentions that, it shows this little reel of Vader in the suit, which Obi-Wan, of course, has never seen before. And
Yep.
talking about how, Storm or Imperial troops, put down a rebellion on Kashyyyk and all that stuff. And then the news holo says, "Oh, Darth Vader is the one who did this." And then Obi-Wan realizes, oh, he didn't die on Mustafar. He's now in this, cyborg machine armor, and he's still working for the Empire doing evil.
Mhm.
To which I would like to add, in there's actually a German radio drama adaptation of Dark Lord Rising, and they have the voice actors from the film because they're much cheaper, and it came out back in like 2007, so they were all still in business. And hearing the actual movie voice of Obi-Wan, finding out Vader is alive, that made it so much more. That made it feel so much more important.
That sounds so cool.
And I wonder
Yeah.
if Obi-Wan ever got that feeling of, I don't know if you ever have had a regret like this, if he ever had that feeling of if only I had killed him back then, how much pain and suffering would I have saved the galaxy from?
Mm.
Because Mace
Mhm.
Windu had that. Mace Windu had that. As we learn in Shatterpoint, also written by the same guy who wrote the
Yep.
Revenge of the Sith novel,
Mhm.
where he kind of wishes he could have killed Dooku when he had the chance, and surprisingly, even Darth Krayt has that regret in Legacy, where he asks, how much pain and suffering could I have spared the galaxy if I had just told them that Anakin wiped out that Tusken village?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on Obi-Wan before we move on?
I think we're all set.
All right. Let's move on to Padme.
One thing I could say to Obi-Wan is
Okay.
it can't have been easy to make a character both have so many funny one-liners and also have give him a legitimately tragic and emotional story around it, but they made it work.
Mhm.
For sure.
Yeah, they did.
Yes. Onto the Queen herself.
Yep.
Honestly, I feel like she's at her weakest in this movie. I feel like she was
Yep.
cooler in the first two.
hmm They
She-
cut
she-
out some of her best scenes.
She isn't even in the video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely really enjoy the deleted scenes with
hmm
her and, you know, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, a couple other fellas in their gaggle of senators who are, you know, essentially trying to oppose the increased tyranny of Palpatine. And we actually hear a little glimmer of this in when Obi-Wan says to Anakin, you know, the Senate is expected to vote more emergency powers to the Chancellor. And
hmm
a lot of those scenes that got cut were, hey, let's try to stop the Chancellor from getting more power, you know, in
Yep.
this upcoming vote and all that. And I do appreciate how the novel goes into a lot more depth in that, and how you see a lot more, both in the deleted scenes and then also in the novelization, how, you know, the same way that we see in the movie Palpatine manipulating Anakin and the Jedi Council into their own self-destruction,
hmm
we also see Palpatine manipulating the entire Senate into giving him more power willingly, you know, as Padme says, with thunderous applause, probably her best line in the movie.
Yes, that
And
line is epic.
and there's also this is actually a pretty cool little fun fact. In the novelization, not novelization, in the movie, whenever Padme says this war represents a failure to listen,
Yeah, that's from. Sorry, I think you were gonna say, but I know
Yeah.
what you're trying to say.
it's in what's the character's name? I have it written down here.
Was it the Deveronian girl? I think Jysel?
Yes, in one of the Jander Sima
Mace Windu.
comments. Yeah.
Jedi Mace Windu. That was the one.
Yep. So it's a really cool thing, you know. A lot of people will say like George Lucas didn't care about the EU, but like there's obvious
Mhm.
evidence that, you know, at least at some point that comic panel came across his desk and he was like, this is cool, I'm going to put this in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
another comic reference in this movie that not that many people are aware of. Tsui Choi, who is a character who was introduced in Jedi
Yes.
Council Acts of War, which I dubbed, by the way, is in the Battle of Kashyyyk. And he was originally going to have a slightly larger role, because I'm sure you've seen that deleted scene where General Grievous executes Shakti.
Yep.
That scene obviously isn't canon because she's still on the Jedi Council, but if that scene had made it into the movie, Tsui Choi would have taken her place in the council.
Yeah.
Oh.
But for some reason, General Grievous still has Shakti's lightsaber in his cape when he takes Obi-Wan and Anakin's, but that was explained in the cartoon. But I guess the new canon still has to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about Padme in this film, other than she's not as cool. I have something to say about characters she's close to, though.
Yeah.
I guess I can do that. Should I?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so Captain Typho appears in only a single scene in the movie, like when he brings Padme to his ship, and we can barely see him because it's such a wide shot. And I think it's actually the same actor who played him in Attack of the Clones, so kind of a shame we don't get a good look at him. But at least he gets a bigger role in the Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga version of this film, because he actually fights the Emperor with Yoda.
Yeah.
Also, one thing that's speaking of deleted scenes, Padme's parents and I think sisters and nieces and nephews from the Attack of the Clones deleted scenes are at her funeral.
Yes. It was very
Yeah.
cool that they still included that in the theatrical cut of the movie. When they never got any screen time in Attack of the Clones because all of that entire sequence got cut out.
Also, C.O. Bibble was at her funeral, and
Yep.
now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that this very brief clip where he has no dialogue is C.O. Bibble's only appearance in the entire film.
I think so.
And
Yeah,
I'm
that's
asking
okay.
this because what I noticed in the cinema is that Oliver Ford Davies, the actor of C.O. Bibble, is listed as co-starring alongside Ahmed Best and Jimmy Smits. He is listed. He is listed. They listed C.O. Bibble's actor before Christopher Lee or Sam Jackson, and he's in a single scene with no dialogue, playing.
That sounds to me like he has a certain rank up in the Screen Actors Guild where he's just like, if you want me to step foot in front of a camera, I have to have this kind of credit.
But above Christopher Lee and Sam Jackson?
That's how the guild rules work. I know
Yeah,
George Lucas himself, he got kicked out of the Directors Guild when A New Hope came out in 1977 because he didn't have opening credits. And they straight up were like, you're not in the guild anymore, which is probably the main reason why he did not direct Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, because he couldn't hire the cinematographers, the producers. He couldn't hire those people outside of the Hollywood unions, but the Hollywood unions would not let him direct the movie and him hire all of those other people. And so he kind of had to shadow direct through Richard Marquand and Irvin Kershner. But it seems like by the time, the prequels came around, he was able to get back into the guild. But like certain things like that, where he was like, all right, last time I took a chance, they kicked me out. So this is just one of those areas where I'm willing to compromise.
Yeah.
But the prequels still don't have opening credits.
No, because the Screen Actors Guild and, all the different Hollywood unions, after they kicked George Lucas out and then Star Wars became like one of the biggest movies in cinema history at the time, and same with Empire and Return of the Jedi, they all basically just agreed, okay, opening credits aren't absolutely essential for you to stay in the guild, but you do have to pay like a pretty hefty fine. So that's actually one of the things where for every single Star Wars movie, even under the new Disney stuff, because they don't have opening credits for all of their main cast and above the line crew members, they have to pay like a pretty hefty fee to each of the unions that would have opening credit positions in them, and basically say, hey, we'll credit you at the end of the movie, but we just have to pay you money now so that we don't do it at the start.
Okay, well, good for Oliver Ford Davies. He had Quinlan Voss.
Welcome in.
Yep.
Well, I guess good for Oliver Ford Davies, doing barely anything in the movie and apparently being a co-star in it. I guess that's how Mark Hamill must have felt, but in The Force Awakens. But at least he's a recognizable legacy character.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on Padme before we move on?
Just a shame that all of her best moments from this story, both in the deleted scenes and in the novel, were cut. But I know, like, particularly with theatrical movies, especially at the time, like 2.5 hours, which is, just shy of what, Revenge of the Sith is just shy of that at 225. That in and of itself was very much so pushing what was, distributable, because, you want to sell as many theaters as you can in a day. The longer
Yeah.
your movie is, the less movie screenings you can have.
Mhm.
And my guess is that if Revenge of the Sith were made in the world of streaming, George Lucas probably would have just said, screw it, let's make a 4-hour cut of the movie and put it out that way, and people who want to watch it will still watch it. But, it's a shame that her best stuff was left on the cutting room floor. But, I mean, at least she still has some really good one-liners in it.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, though Padme obviously does not shine nearly as much as her husband or Obi-Wan.
Hmm. All right. Let's move on to General Grievous.
Okay, I have an observation. General Grievous is very chill in this movie. He is very composed. Like, even when one of his greatest enemies jumps behind him, says hello there, he's totally cool and says, "Ah, General Kenobi, you're a bold one." And the reason why I bring this up is because in the Clone Wars, he's always throwing tantrums over anything. Like, there's the scene, just before he gets his butt kicked by Gungans, where he's in that room with Jar Jar, and he starts throwing tables around and yelling at Jar Jar. Hasn't even done anything annoying. Grievous has I think Grievous isn't a very complex character of Korra. I mean, his name is General Grievous. He's more of a comic book villain almost, but he has an amazing theme song that is for some reason never used in TCW. Despite the Imperial March playing whenever Anakin shows any emotion, and the CGI on General Grievous is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. It still holds up to this day, especially in the eyes. Like, when you get those close-ups on his face and you just see, the wet, gritty detail in his eyes.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, when Obi-Wan pulls open his chest and you see his organs, I think that's the one piece of CGI in this movie that hasn't aged very well. Grievous's organs don't look that good. What was I going to say? Another detail, that he has 6-fingered hands, but so when he splits into 4 arms, he has 3 fingers on each arm, and then Obi-Wan slices 2 hands off, and when he puts his arms back together, the anime just remembered, now he has 3 fingers on each hand, even though he's in his 2-arm mode now. And I feel like a lot of people would have forgotten that detail, but in the movie they remembered that these fingers are missing now. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. We got this comment. I'm curious how Obi-Wan would have fared against Grievous if he didn't get badly damaged by Mace Windu with the Legends timeline.
There's a video by Jar Jar Studios Plus that has Obi-Wan fight against Tartakovsky Grievous. It's more of a comedy, but it's really funny. I recommend it. I feel like Grievous and a lot of other separatist elements that are introduced in this film, such as the droid gunship or the Tri-Fighter, don't get to shine that much, because by the time the movie is over, most of the EU wanted to move into the early Empire setting rather than more of the separatists. So a lot of these things just didn't get that much time to shine, sadly. I think Grievous is a great villain, but you shouldn't go into it with the mindset that every villain has to have complex motivation, because just having an evil coughing robot who collects lightsabers can be fun, and he's definitely a unique concept. they made an evil cyborg with respiratory problems without having him be a knockoff of Darth Vader. That's to be commended.
Yeah. All right, we got another comment. What happened to Grievous, otherwise known as Kimian Jai Shilal, now happened to Anakin Skywalker?
You mean the fact he was put in a robot body, or that he kept losing lightsaber battles to Kenobi?
Probably the fact that they're both cyborgs.
Yeah. But they also both have a grudge against Obi-Wan.
Mhm.
And they both got set on fire. And they both have breathing problems.
Yep.
But yeah, he doesn't feel like a knockoff, and that's to be commended. And they both wear capes. But yeah,
And they both have resentment towards the Jedi for what they believe is perceived injustices against themselves
and their family.
and their families. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else on General Grievous before we move on?
Who we hit
Grievous
next?
really does General Grievous really believe in the Separatist cause, or is he just in it to slaughter Jedi?
Yes.
Doesn't seem like much of a ideologue to me. Seems like he just wants the opportunity for revenge, and the Separatists were just the one to put the loaded gun in his hand.
Yep.
I feel like Asajj Ventress in both new and old canon does also feels like, does she really care about the Separatist cause, or does she just did it to slaughter Jedi?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Count Dooku.
Count Dooku. Yeah, he doesn't get to do much. He's still characterized infinitely better than in TCW, but that goes without saying. And I like that he offers Anakin and Obi-Wan the chance to surrender because, well, he doesn't like killing Jedi. That's an interesting character trait that only he and no other Sith has. Well, no other Sith in the movies. I'm not sure if you had other Sith like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Christopher Lee is amazing like always. Count Dooku isn't much of a character on his own, rather than a step in Anakin's development. So yeah, I don't know if there's much I can say about him other than how he furthers Anakin's story.
Yeah.
He doesn't use Force lightning in the film, which I guess is a bit of a shame.
They were probably saving all the Force lightning stuff for Sidious, though it probably would have been pretty cool to see a juxtaposition between how weak Dooku's lightning is in comparison to Palpatine's.
Yeah, I noticed that Dooku uses one-handed lightning, while Sidious always uses two-handed lightning.
Yeah.
He's got the dual wield.
Yeah. I guess you've heard about how there's a very brief scene that was cut from the movie where Dooku says, "Wait, let me try and put on the voice. Just because there are two of you, do not assume you have the advantage." And that made it into the video game.
Yep.
Nice.
I don't know. I feel like everything Dooku does is Dooku has limited screen time, but I guess it's kind of iconic, like him being flanked by the super battle droids, doing that flip. I think the lightsaber duel was. I think the music was a bit lackluster in the duel. Like when he enters the scene and we get that dramatic swelling up, that's great. And then those almost pathetic sounding strings when he's sitting there with his hands cut off, that's also great. And the dramatic music when the scene changes. But the actual duel part, I don't know, it's a bit forgettable. And I think Dooku's battle against Obi-Wan and Anakin in Episode 2 also, I mean, it seems like a bit of, I don't know, it also wasn't that great. So
One of the things I'd add to that is the fight choreography that was originally done for that sequence, choreographed by Nick Gilliard. A lot of the best moments really got trimmed out of it and down, and not necessarily to save screen time, but because, and this is the same thing with the Mace Windu versus Palpatine scene too, is the original fight choreography. You can see some of like the stunt viz where they kind of just take the stunt actors on a blue screen and shoot out the choreography, not really thinking too much about the camera angles, just making sure you can see how it all is supposed to look. But the stunt viz for that fight was really good. But then when it actually came to the day to shoot it, George Lucas was like, "Well, I want to have Christopher Lee hold the lightsaber more," and he's a very old guy, so he just can't move as fast. And of course,
Yeah.
a stunt actor still does do a good amount, and there's some CG face replacements, or you're seeing the back of his head for some of those shots, but just because George Lucas really wanted Christopher Lee to do a lot of the shots so that you could get the camera up close on his face and see that it's Christopher Lee holding the lightsaber. They really did reduce the intensity of that scene, and it was the same way for the Mace Windu versus Palpatine fight sequence, because he and Aragorn had never really done any sort of stunts with swords or any of that, even whenever he did like Shakespeare.
Hmm.
Just wasn't really a forte of his, and he had 5 days to train for that fight. And he's an older guy too, even back then, and just wasn't able to move the same way like a 20 to 30-year-old stunt actor would be able to do. And so it is kind of a shame that those fights did get reduced in their intensity. But the trade-off with that is that you do get to see a lot more of the actor's performance come through. Whereas, one of the things a lot of modern movies get wrong is they show you 2 shots of the actor's face, and then everything else is a stunt actor, and you're just seeing the back of their head or a digital face replacement. And the action looks really cool, but like you're never able to see like the performance of the character come through. It's not much different than like a ragdoll at that point. But
Yeah.
uh but yeah, with that fight sequence, definitely could have been a lot better had they utilized a lot of the original choreography. But it is cool that we got to see Christopher Lee actually fighting. And like Only Good Game
Mhm.
said in our chat here, you know he definitely um, is a sword fighter in real life. He has real
Yeah.
sword training and fencing, and he's a knighted English knight. So, he knows a thing or two about this. Though, of course, what he knows in the real world isn't as flashy as lightsaber fights, but still pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
They had to get Christopher Lee for the role because who else is cool enough to believably be Liam Neeson's mentor?
Yeah.
Um, I had something to say about Dune. I don't know what it is. Apparently the original script had him begging for his life, but Christopher Lee asked George Lucas to change that because George Lucas was only surrounded by yes men who did everything he said. And the question is, do you think? Do you think that it? I feel like Dooku would have spilled the beans if he were to beg for his life because he knew who Sidious was. Uh, so I think it's a better. It's almost better that he doesn't. Uh,
Yeah.
um, 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 I don't know. I feel like I had something else to say about the Good Count. I'm not sure what it is. I guess we can move on. Who's the next character on the agenda? Yoda, Windu?
How about we'll do Yoda?
Yoda. Oh man, I'm gonna give you a hot take of the century. I like CGI Yoda better than puppet Yoda. I'm well. I think the model has aged very well in my opinion. It looks very realistic, and I like the subtle movements. Like when he senses Order 66 is a good one, where he like touches his forehead and steps back. And I don't think this would have looked as good with puppet Yoda.
Yeah.
By far. It was actually pretty
Um,
cool. A couple years ago, I got to see a panel at a Comic Con where one of the original creators of the Yoda puppet for Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, there was two guys. Each of them made their own puppet Yoda that was used in different sequences for the movies, but and he made one of them. But I remember someone asked him how he felt about the puppet Yoda in the Phantom Menace versus the CGI one, and he had nothing but negative things to say about the one from the Phantom Menace because instead of using rubber, which is what they used in the original trilogy, they made it out of silicone, but it just looked really weird. I think most people can agree that the Phantom Menace puppet Yoda before the special edition change looked pretty odd, but
I like Phantom Menace puppet Yoda, and it's a bit odder in the German dub because in the German dub, Yoda has a different voice actor than he does in all the other films. So it just makes more sense to me that he would look different too. And I like that the CGI isn't as overpowering yet in that film. So I don't know. I like. I don't think the episode one puppet looks that bad either. That's just my opinion.
but it is pretty cool though the just the way that he's able to fight with Sidious in that movie, Revenge of the Sith. It's so good. That fight sequence and Battle of the Heroes are probably the two best. And there's a lot of lightsaber fights in the movie, but I
Yeah,
think that those two are probably my favorite.
yeah. I used to have a bit of a problem with there being a bit too many fights, but then again, the movie is called Revenge of the Sith. It's kind of in the title that the dark side and the light would clash against each other much more than they would in all the other films.
For sure.
Um, yeah, the opening scene of Revenge of the Sith is so cool. Um, and I think it works all the better that you can just see that it's on Coruscant. You can see that the bad guys have made it to the home turf because Coruscant is one of those few planets you can instantly recognize from orbit.
Yeah.
And that it was such a peaceful planet when we were first introduced to it, and now, wham! Ships everywhere. Nobody's safe. When we see completely new weapons we've never seen before and won't see again because the Clone Wars are about to end.
Is it the best opening scene of the Star Wars movies?
Probably.
I would say it's definitely the most epic for sure.
Oh yeah. But we wanted to say more about Yoda. Do you have anything? Yeah, he gives Anakin some really bad advice. Not what he needed to hear.
Yeah.
I do like how like the I'm not sure how what they are called Jalousien in German, but like the I don't know the window coverings. I can't think of the proper word right now. Yeah, like you can see the blinds. They where there's like stripes of light and shadow on Yoda, which is impressive because he's a CGI model that couldn't have been there in the in the film in the shot, of course. Also, in that scene, like when they did shots and they didn't do all the shots with Hayden Christensen, like with the animation and all. But Anakin's stand-in for that was Christian Simpson, who also did voice work in some of my comic dubs. So
Cool.
That's cool. Yes.
All right. Is that it on Yoda?
I think him knowing about Qui-Gon coming back from the dead is kind of out of nowhere. I feel like there's a plot point that went missing there.
I know in there's a deleted scene for Revenge of the
Mhm.
Sith. It's technically it's still in the movie, but they just cut all the good stuff out early before they go into it.
Yeah.
But Yoda is meditating on the moon when right before Obi-Wan and Padme arrive at the very end of the movie and at the medical station. He's meditating, and then Bail Organa comes in and he says, Obi-Wan Kenobi has just arrived. And in the deleted scene, Yoda is meditating, and then out of nowhere, Qui-Gon sort of reveals himself to Yoda. He's like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's, how you can, commune with me, or, I can't remember the exact dialogue of it, and it's pretty vague in the movie even still, but that sort of sets up like, oh, even Yoda didn't know about this until 50 seconds ago. And
Yeah.
then, whenever him and Obi-Wan are splitting up, he's like, hey, just so you know, I just experienced this. Let me pass this on to you so that you can continue your training on Tatooine.
Wasn't that cut because they couldn't have Liam Neeson come back and voice the lines?
I don't remember if that was the reason why. I know basically every single time Liam Neeson has been asked to come back and do Star Wars, he's just been like, yeah, sure, why not? I won't even charge that much. It's just fun. So
Mhm.
I don't know if it was a scheduling conflict or if it was a budget conflict to pay for him to come back. I know in the previs of the deleted scene that it isn't Liam Neeson's voice. It's like someone
Yeah.
recording some stand-in audio.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Then I wonder why Liam Neeson wasn't in like Phantom Menace video games like Jedi Power Battles or even the Lego Star Wars stuff if he doesn't charge that much.
yeah, I don't know. I just know, like, for instance, for like Clone Wars or like
Tales of the Jedi.
the Clone Wars, or Tales of the Jedi, he came back, and even Obi-Wan Kenobi, he has a brief cameo at the end of that. Didn't seem like the costume and makeup department did a high effort job trying to make him match his Phantom Menace look, but
Yeah.
regardless, he's basically just come back whenever he's asked to, and it's not like he's like, hey, pay me $20 million to come back like Harrison Ford would in a similar situation.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're supposed to be talking about Yoda. We're talking about Qui-Gon. Though I guess one fun fact I can say about Qui-Gon, I was opening some Lego Star Wars magazine gifts today while I was premiering my dub, and I deliberately opened Qui-Gon when he was on screen in the dub. He had a little cameo. Shout out to Concordia Jedi, voice of Qui-Gon Jinn in my dubs.
All right. Let's move on to the Master of Vapod.
Mace Windu.
Is he the Master of the Pod? Mace Windu is a character I've grown very fond of because he has he has a big role in many of my favorite comics. Like even today, in today's dub, I just saw him and Sasitin engaging in a shouting match. Yeah, I think Mace is a great character because he's I like that he's the sorry, I can't think at the moment. I like that he's very strict but fair. Where you can kind of tell why he doesn't trust Anakin that much, but also understand why Anakin is frustrated at Mace Windu not giving him the credit he, in his mind, deserves.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little thing I noticed while watching the movie in the theater when Mace and Obi-Wan and Yoda are all talking about how they don't trust him and they don't trust the Chancellor. There's a clone trooper just standing right behind them. Aren't the clones supposed to be more loyal to the Chancellor than to the Jedi? Are they just okay with like them discussing that in front of the clones?
My guess is that's probably an example of the Jedi in that room being a little bit arrogant about that particular discussion or topic. And I mean, at the time, they had no idea that the clones are uh, programmed to follow Order 66, through their training and not uh, inhibitor chips, but. Um, but they didn't know that at the time, but like I don't know, maybe they just trusted those clones or were like, well, we're their generals, they'll do what we ask them to do, so we'll just have this open discussion about not trusting the Chancellor in full
Yeah.
view.
The I heard that not Mace Windu, Sam Jackson once said that Mace Windu was an unusual but fun character for him to play because he doesn't get to be a straight up good guy that often. And he viewed Mace Windu as being very heroic, but look how the perception has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a pretty decent duel with Darth Sidious.
Yeah, but that one actually had great music again. The track is called "I Am the Senate" because John Williams apparently knew just how epic that line is. It gets cut a little weirdly in the movie, like it was never released properly, but you can kind of. But fans have pieced together how the track was originally recorded, and it's a bit different than in the film. And
All right. Anything else on Mace Windu?
do you think he was in the right to execute the Chancellor right then and there?
Oh, that's a hard question because I think pretty much no matter what the Jedi did, they were going to have an uphill battle because if they kill the Chancellor, I think public perception would still be against the Jedi.
Definitely, like there was, but at least then I feel like Mace Windu knew that, but was like willing to take the blunt of like the shame and the punishment, like basically take one for the team, because he knew that. Because he spared Dooku. Like this kind of ties into Shatterpoint, where he regrets not killing Dooku when he had the chance. Now he has the chance to kill Sidious, and you know what Sidious will do if he survives, because he does survive, and look at what happened.
Hello.
Hello? Someone just... Oh, hello.
Hello there.
Fine addition.
How are
Hello.
y'all? Sorry, I'm
Hey,
late.
hey.
It's okay.
We're talking about the movie that your name comes from.
A fine addition to my collection. Now, my question is the new print of Revenge of the Sith a fine addition to somebody's collection?
It sure will be.
It will be. When does it release?
In October.
Why October? Why doesn't it release like today? Like that would make sense.
That would make perfect sense.
My gosh, October. I guess they just like forgot. Like, gosh, that's wild. I'm looking forward to this. Not a special edition, but reprint, I guess you could say, with all the footnotes, because I mean it's just more. I mean, I'm like an EU purist for the most part. There's some things I'll watch from the Disney canon, but I'm always looking for like new lore, and so the footnotes I think can it's almost like new expanded universe. But I
Yeah.
don't know what you guys think.
Hey, if you want new
closest we're
expanded
gonna get.
universe, you want new expanded universe? Well, I heard somebody just made a comic dub of an EU comic today. It's on his channel if you want to see that.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I'll have to check it out. I think I'm
Of
subscribed to you. You have the Republic comics and like a lot of those other ones, don't you?
Yes. Today I posted the Deveronian version Part 2, the most canon that Star Wars has ever been.
My favorite is the lactating Yoda meme from that.
He's high on ketamine, but I thought of something else related to Mace Windu I wanted to bring up. Noticed it's in the film, but you remember that scene where Obi-Wan drops his lightsaber and Commander Cody picks it up? And right after that, it cuts to a scene where Commander Cody contacts Mace Windu and tells him that Obi-Wan and Grievous are now fighting. And these are right after one another, so massive respect for Cody for not snitching on Obi-Wan for losing his lightsaber.
Yeah, by the way, he lost his lightsaber. I wondered that as a kid. I was like, is he going to tell him that he has his lightsaber? Like, wave it at the camera.
What do you think happened to the lightsabers that Grievous lost in the duel? Like, you think somebody picked them up and found them?
Sold them on the black market.
Probably.
You think maybe they found their ways into the hands of a to-be Jedi, maybe? The key to their destiny?
That's here's something I like kind of had this theory as a kid, because this came out whenever I was 7 years old. And so all the posters, all the merchandise, all the things, I was looking for things that tied together, or I would notice, oh, hey, this is something here. His lightsabers that he had were just the reused hilts from, like, you had Obi-Wan's, you had Luke's, you had Anakin's. I think you had...
all the Attack of the Clones Jedi had reused the... And all the Jedi and Attack of the Clones have one of 4 hilts that are all reused from the Counselors from Phantom Menace. It's so jarring once you notice. And since they all have either blue or green sabers, there's 8 total lightsabers in the entire arena.
Right. And here's the cool thing. In the toy lines, they had this lightsaber. It was like the cheap one that you honestly, they could take a beating. You would break before it would break. But they could have replace, like, it would be all the different helts. So you had Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Anakin.
I had those too.
Yes.
Same.
Those were my childhood.
And then, yeah, Obi-Wan. I think that's all that they had. They had those
I think
3 helts.
Yeah, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Anakin, yes.
Yes.
And you know what's also cool about those? They have functioning... cover tech buttons.
Yes.
The little
and it clipped. It was the perfect lightsaber.
It is, yes.
The only thing, it didn't light up. And I was like, well, I guess that's something. It's cool and it hooks up and it goes all the way in until the Force Action lightsaber came out. That was the coolest one. Except it didn't have a clip. And I was like, what the heck is this? Come on. You're going to get it right one day. But they exchanged for those cheaper ones. They just switched out the blade colors, and so like I had the purple one. No, my first one was
my favorite one was
Qui-Gon's. But that's kind of how they just switched the hilts around with the colors.
My favorite one was the Obi-Wan hilt plus the green blade.
Ooh, I never saw one of those.
Well, if you'll see one of those, it'll be when you're dueling me. Actually, I now have a custom-made saber forge lightsaber. That's like my lightsaber now. But yeah, maybe if you fight, if you travel through time and fight me when I was just a young Padawan.
Do you think you could someone could customly? Well, I'm sure it's possible, but someone could customly make that Obi-Wan Episode 2 and Episode 1 hilt with a green blade. I don't know. I feel like that
you can probably just buy that somewhere where you can like find like that's the design that was in the movies that got a lot of attention. You probably just order one of those with a green blade.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Uh,
I had the Qui-Gon one, and then the
what color?
I had the Qui-Gon hilt and green blade. So it was
okay. I only saw the Qui-Gon hilt with a red blade.
I had. Oh, that was my first one. I had.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, I didn't have that. That was my friend that had that. I had the. Goodness, we played all the time, so we would just we would fight with our lightsabers. I had the Qui-Gon hilt red blade. He had the Qui-Gon green blade, and then I gifted him the Anakin lightsaber, blue blade. Anakin hilt. I remember I told my mom, I was like, I want to get him a lightsaber so that we could fight. We could fight with more lightsabers. And I got the purple Obi-Wan hilt. That's the one.
I have that. That's probably the closest one to the saber forged lightsaber I made.
Really?
Oh, yeah, that one. The saber forged lightsaber that's adaptive saber parts, so it's the only one of its kind. But I based the design off of Obi-Wan's Episode 1 hilt and Adi Gallia's hilt.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Yeah. But what I was saying earlier, you think that maybe like General Grievous lost some lightsabers in his duel against Obi-Wan. You think that maybe a Padawan child might have found themselves weirdly drawn to them, and maybe found one of those lightsabers, and it ended up shaping their destiny in maybe as a future Jedi.
There was actually a Padawan. Are you talking about the Padawan Jedi from the Invasion comics?
No, I was just being hypothetical. But that one has a yellow lightsaber, and Grievous didn't lose yellow lightsabers.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Oh, what I was actually my main point of that whole thing. I'm sorry, I jump around all the time. I saw the hilts, and there was, I think it was one of the promotions. Maybe it was even in the movie. I think one of the green ones that got cut off. It was Luke's from Return of the Jedi, and so
that looks pretty much almost identical to Obi-Wan's hilt. So I think it was more likely that one.
Yeah. And so I know in the EU and everything, he makes his own synthetic crystal, and he builds the parts from Obi-Wan's leftover parts. But as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, is that Luke's lightsaber? Like, does he find General Grievous's lightsaber that got cut off here? I don't know. Yeah. Obi-Wan could have went and picked him up to try to take him back, which we don't see him on his belt.
That would raise the question, who is the actual original owner of Luke's lightsaber? Probably a Jedi who was killed by General Grievous.
Maybe. People said, people are saying that Qui-Gon's crystal was used for Luke's. But, of course, in the EU, it's different. But, I don't know. I heard that theory going about. I don't know if Jedi were that sentimental. I think Obi-Wan would have picked up those lightsabers to bring back to the temple. But to keep it, grab them before he leaves. I don't know. Yeah. Do you guys think Obi-Wan collected Jedi artifact or like lightsabers and things before he went to Tatooine?
I don't know. I guess he would have had like stuff from his living quarters on Coruscant. Like, Maybe he can manage to grab something.
If I'm not
sure
mistaken,
I'm sure Anakin went in there and grabbed all of his stuff.
Whatever happened to Qui-Gon's lightsaber? Did he locate it into his hut on Tatooine?
If he did any lightsaber, I think it would be that one. If he was that sentimental. Because he did keep the lightsaber in Rogue Planet before he constructed his new one, which I'm surprised George Lucas didn't have him use Qui-Gon's in Episode 2. I don't know. I guess he just forgot because he makes an identical lightsaber after that. But it would have been interesting if Qui-Gon had blue and Obi-Wan had green, and he ended up having that same lightsaber to the original trilogy. Qui-Gon's. They switched it around.
I like Obi-Wan.
would have been a cool
I
idea.
like it the way it is.
I know.
I like it the way it is now.
The what if.
I would have liked the EU lightsaber colors to have stayed.
Yeah. What's your favorite EU lightsaber color?
Indigo.
Ooh.
But there aren't that many characters who use it. Sassy Tin had an indigo lightsaber though. It looks so mystical, and you just it's what my Saber Forge lightsaber is too. But you just stare into it and go, is it blue? Is it purple all the time? And it kind of has an ominous look to it. Like I think a villain could have an indigo lightsaber. It doesn't always have to be red, right? Sadly, the indigo lightsaber is very underused, and even like Sassy Tim doesn't use it that often.
I had no idea he had an indigo lightsaber.
Well, then maybe you should watch my comic dubs. But he uses it in Jedi Council Acts of War. What's it? The Deveronian version. Infinity's End, and which is his action figure from 2001 has the indigo lightsaber.
I'll be right back.
Good. But Yaddle, the one below, that's where he also has it.
Okay.
It looks so cool on him.
All right. Let's get back to the characters.
Yay. Next up, Sassy Tin. I wish he still had the indigo lightsaber in this movie.
I was going to say Darth Sidious.
Yes, Darth Sidious. Definitely one of the best parts. And I think Palpatine is one of the characters who definitely improves in the prequels. And this is his best movie of all of them. Of all the Star Wars movies. Here's where Palpatine is at. This goes for both Palpatine and Obi-Wan, but this is Palpatine's best movie.
You mean it's not The Rise of Skywalker?
The Rise of Skywalker, where his entire character just gets regressed into spooky old guy.
But he manipulates the entire First Order. Oh my!
Well, what do you mean he manipulates? He's like, "Hey, Kylo Ren, how about I'll be the?
But he's all the Sith. He's literally all of them. All of the Sith.
How does he even take over the First Order? Does he just ask Kylo to put him in control?
That's exactly what he does. It's not that deep.
It's not that. Well, maybe he should have just tried that in the prequels then.
Exactly. Why didn't he do that in Revenge of the Sith? Just ask to dissolve the Senate and kill all the Jedi, and everybody would say yes, and kumbaya.
Yeah, you're right. Why didn't he?
Because obviously, the way that was done in Rise of Skywalker is way better than Revenge of the Sith.
You see, and Rise of Skywalker, it's the final order, not the Empire, but he's still the Emperor.
Yep.
Don't try to make it make sense. It'll just not make sense to you. I think Revenge of the Sith and the Rise of Skywalker are a perfect juxtaposition for incredible writing of villains and incredible bad writing of villains.
Yeah.
he has no business being in that film, and his entire character just gets regressed to scary. But I will say, Ian McDermott's voice in Rise of Skywalker sounds better than ever. Like,
Well, Ian McDermott just sounds great all the time,
yeah, he does. But I think that age has done wonders to his voice. I
especially
think
for older Palpatine. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, definitely. But we're not talking about Palpatine at his worst. We're talking about Palpatine at his best.
Heck yeah.
Here,
Before the
wait.
wrinkles and
Yes,
just after.
and yeah, the one who doesn't get killed by someone who has first picked up a lightsaber 1 year ago, the one who can kill several council masters in 1 minute.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I've made an interesting observation about the Emperor that I'm not sure if many people have seen, because a lot of people think, okay, so he's actually Darth Sidious, but he's pretending to be the nice Chancellor Palpatine. That's a mask. But I think Darth Sidious is also a mask, because in The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, and of course at the beginning of this film when he's talking to General Grievous, Darth Sidious is also very calm and very sophisticated, and he can say the word good like a normal person. He's a lot more calm, a lot more composed, and after Mace Windu fries his face with lightning, that's when he turns into the cackling old witch from the original trilogy. And I think that's the real Emperor. That's how he actually is, and the calm, the calm and calculating villain from the prequels, the Darth Sidious with the hood over his face, that's also a mask, but to a lesser degree.
Well, yeah, because at that point he didn't have near absolute power, so he had to rely on people trusting or fearing him in ways that made sense. But, when the mask comes off, he's just like, yeah, I won. What are you going to do about it?
I think it's interesting that Darth Sidious only has one scene in both Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, respectively, talking about the Darth Sidious persona specifically. He gets a lot more screen time in Phantom Menace, thankfully. So,
Checks out.
but yeah, I guess we kind of have, when we're talking about Palpatine, we're kind of talking about three characters. We can talk about, I guess, Darth Sidious, about Chancellor Palpatine, and the Emperor, because all three of them have like completely different personalities despite being the same guy. Darth Sidious, there's not much to say about him. He just talks to Grievous very briefly. I guess Darth Sidious's best movie is Phantom Menace. Then Chancellor Palpatine, he's the best Palpatine. I love how he manipulates Anakin and make the dark side seem like reasonable and rational, when obviously they've been pretty much straight up demon-faced villains earlier. And of course, he's the one who tells us the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. The Emperor, Chancellor Palpatine is best Palpatine, but the Emperor, yeah, it's pretty cool seeing him turn into who he is in the original trilogy. Of course, he gets to have his unlimited power.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Plo Koon has joined the chat.
This is the closest episode 3 picture I have.
That's with the mask off.
Yep.
Not the cursed images you get in the comics.
What do you mean cursed? My whole family looks like this. I voiced Plo Koon in the comic dubs, in case you didn't know that. I voiced Plo Koon in a bunch of stuff, including the animated fan film Sands of War. I don't know if any of you have seen that.
I've not. I'll have to check it out.
It's done in the TCW style, but it's very faithful to that. So if you like super reverted to TCW, maybe you wouldn't like it. But I think I'm very proud to have been in it. It's really cool.
I'm pretty chill. CW.
Yeah, Sands of War by Orion's Axe. But yeah, yeah, it's the first time. Well, not really the first time, but the first time in the movies we see Darth Sidious wield a lightsaber. We've seen him wield a stolen Jedi saber in Dark Empire, of course, and surprisingly, Darth Sidious's own lightsaber first appeared in the Phantom Menace trading card game of all things. I can post an actually I can't post an image. I don't know where I could show it to you guys, but yeah, Sid's lightsaber was first shown in the Phantom Menace trading card game of all things.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
You talked about the stolen lightsabers from Dark Empire. I actually made one of my first videos I made was a theory video of where those came from. And it actually might tie into a bit what we were talking about. My theory is that the Jedi that he killed in his office was it Sassitan, Egan Kolar, and Kit Fisto. He took those lightsabers, and those were the ones that he used in Dark Empire.
Ah, cool. So he might have. I kind of have the headcanon that he fought Luke with Agent Kolar's lightsaber.
Yeah. That, or they get the lightsabers from the temple or from General Grievous. Maybe. I don't know. But I'd like the Egan Kolar one.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's the first Jedi that Sidious kills, and he's the same species as Darth Maul, his first apprentice. I don't know, there's something deeper there.
Yeah. And the color matches up.
Yeah, but like Dark Empire is colored very weirdly.
True.
I guess the illustrations show him wield a blue saber.
Could be any color you want.
All right. Anything else on Darth Sidious?
Who's next up on the roster?
Is there any other major characters that we need to cover?
Wait, Darth Sidious, he has amazing lines in this film. I am the Senate. Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Yeah, this is also the only film that really gives us any sort of backstory, even though it's not explicitly stated that he was Darth Plagueis' apprentice.
Yep.
Of course, we know that he was. He says unlimited power. He kills Mace Windu.
It's said in the book, right? That he's his apprentice. I know in the sequel book, Dark Lord Rise of Darth Vader, it's straight up. That's like he's like my master, Darth Plagueis.
You think he ever told the tragedy of Darth Plagueis to Dooku?
Well, Dooku actually met Higo Damask on another number of occasions.
Yeah, that's true.
You think he ever told the tragedy of Darth Plagueis to Maul, and then Plagueis said, "What are you talking about? I'm right here."
I don't think Maul was aware of Damask because the entire time that Palpatine was training him, Palpatine deceived him into believing that, it was just the two of them, though at the time, Plagueis was still Palpatine's master. And so I imagine Maul probably had no idea. In fact, in Maul Endgame, the short story by James Luceno, which was published with the reprint of the Phantom Menace mass market paperback novelization, you actually see that on Naboo, Maul is sort of unraveling many of the sort of plots and plans of Higo Damask, and basically right around the time that he recognizes, oh, my master is not being forthright with me about who this Damask person is. That's when
maybe not.
Like, I gotta go fight Qui-Gon.
Maybe not spoil too much. I haven't read that.
Yeah,
I don't know where to find it. Do I have to like find the whole Do I have to like buy the whole new novelization to read that story, or can I check it out elsewhere?
I think it's only physically printed in the 2012 Phantom Menace novelization.
Oh, dang.
The
Guess I have-
one for the 3D, they re-released it for the 3D release, and they also were retconning it into Clone Wars.
No, that was that one actually has like basically nothing to do with TCW. It's Darth Maul Restraint, which was also by Lucino, which basically, makes Maul the Dathomirian and also sort of foreshadows about Dathomir witches being, essentially taken from infancy to Ratataki, and essentially foreshadowing Ventress's Dathomiri, Maul's Dathomiri, Mother Talzin's in it trying to rescue Maul, but she doesn't know where he is. That's basically what Darth Maul Restraint is.
Maybe they should make like an audio version of Endgame, and they should ask Sam Witwer to narrate it.
Well, here's actually something pretty cool. So Everest Productions, the fan filmmaker, he actually made a full 30-minute adaptation of that short story, which you can watch on his YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, I worked with the guy a few times. If you've ever seen one of his videos where Plo Koon shows up, that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, I've definitely seen a few of those.
Also, I got some of my voice actors through him, like Newt Gunray or Quinlan Voss.
Yes, the second edition of Shadowhunter was narrated by Sam Witwer in the audiobook.
Honestly, any Star Wars project becomes cooler when Sam Witwer is involved.
All right, is that it for Darth Sidious?
I think I said
I think
a lot
so.
about him.
Okay. Are there any other characters we should talk about from Revenge of the Sith?
C.O. Bibble.
Kiadi Mundi.
Who did you
Okay.
guys talk about so far?
Anakin, Obi-Wan, Padme, General Grievous, Count Dooku, Yoda, Mace Windu, and who did we just talk about? Palpatine.
Palpatine.
I guess the clone troopers as a whole, kind of. Maybe that,
Okay.
if I can count that as a character.
Sure.
Yeah, as I said, massive respect for Commander Cody for not snitching on Obi-Wan to Windu. You can kind of see the Jedi and clones they fight side by side, but they don't absolutely trust each other, though apparently they feel comfortable having rather treacherous discussions about the Chancellor right in front of the clones. Another thing, Windu and his friends are being driven to the Chancellor's office on a Republic gunship. Usually those are piloted by clones. Do they know where they are bringing Windu and why?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I noticed that you barely ever see, well, to put it in TCW terms, shinies in this film. That is clones with unmarked, non-specialized armor. So I looked out for that when watching the film. Then I think the only times we see like plain white vanilla clone troopers are one in a turret firing at the Invisible Hand, and the one who's standing behind Obi-Wan in the Republic gunship when they are talking about how they don't trust the Chancellor.
Oh. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Were there any? Let me think. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think
You know what? I will unironically say something about Ki-Adi-Mundi. For being such a minor character, his death scene is phenomenal, and props to him and Kit Fisto for being the only background Jedi who actually managed to fight back.
Yeah.
Plus, he gets to say the epic line, "What about the droid attack on the Wookiees?"
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, are we gonna talk about more than just characters, like maybe music, effects,
Yep.
planets? I
Next
don't
up is planets.
Planets. I guess we're gonna go in order of appearance then, or like only new planet. Oh yeah, we didn't discuss only new characters, but
We could do planets just in general that are in Revenge of the Sith.
I love how alien everything looks. Nothing on there looks like it was shot on Earth. Even the stuff that, okay, obviously Tatooine was shot on Earth, but it's not something you would see every day.
Yeah.
And I love how alien the movies, like even Felucia, you don't get that look of it, but those are completely alien plants.
Hmm.
Like Utapau, those buildings are nothing like anything on Earth. The Coruscant, the whole planet's a city.
Cato Nemordia was
Moidia, those. No wonder it became a stage in The Force Unleashed 2, with those giant rings. Like, all of it is memorable in some way or another. And it's a kind of a weird way to introduce Newt Gunray's homeworld, but okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
What's crazy to me about that too is how much work went into them, given how little screen time they had. Like Felucia had not appeared in Star Wars before, was
Are you sure?
introduced. I don't think so. It may have been like in name, but I don't think there was any visual representation of it.
That's
I could
true,
be
but
mistaken.
it was mentioned in the Droids cartoon back in the 80s.
wow.
That checks out.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's actually crazy how much from the Droids cartoon found its way in the prequels too.
Yeah,
Like,
C-3PO like there's a scene where R2 is stuck to the ceiling and C-3PO it compares him to a magnetic Felucian bat.
okay. But like, you know, it has maybe like 8 or 9 seconds of screen time, and yet they just went out of their way. Like, we're gonna design an entire planet and an entire ecosystem on this planet just to show this short little montage.
Yep.
And then Disney said, "How about another desert planet?"
Pretty much.
And another one. And another one. They like desert planets over at Disney Star Wars.
Maybe that's why their movies are so rough and coarse and irritating, and they get everywhere.
What's your favorite planet from Revenge of the Sith?
Mustafar by far.
They all serve their purpose well, but man, Mustafar is freaking epic. It's also, oh man, it's not the first time we see Kashyyyk.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? We saw it in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
I said it's not the first time we see Kashyyyk.
Oh yeah.
I am a little disappointed that the Wookiees in the film didn't wear red robes and walk into an orb and so more to say about the planets. For how little we see Maigito, it doesn't really look like a Hoth ripoff either. At least enough for them to be separate stages in Battlefront 2.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's move on to duels.
Duels. Obi-Wan and Anakin is the best one, of course.
Hmm.
Um, and special shout out to Kit Fisto for putting up an all-right fight, despite being cannon fodder. He lasted longer against Palpatine than Kylo Ren did, just like it should be.
Yep.
And he looks better topless.
Whoa, what did I walk into?
I have a lot of things to criticize TCW over. Topless
Oh.
Kit Fisto is not one of them. We were talking about duels. General Grievous is is really. I think Grievous is just an impressive character, not with how he's written, just with like the way he's animated, with those lightsabers spinning all over the place and him being a complete CGI model. That could not have been easy.
It
Yeah.
still holds up.
Yeah, he does.
Yes. Yeah, and that iconic sound effect when he cuts up the floor. I used that in my dub of Jedi Chef when Mike Giat borrows Plo Koon's lightsaber and chops up the squirmers. Best duel. The best duel, of course, is Obi-Wan versus Vader. And I think I'm not sure. I think I might like Mace Windu's fight against Palpatine the second most. And props to Yoda versus Sidious for using Duel of the Fates. Also, the visual representation of Sidious literally tearing the Senate apart. Wonder how he explained that when the senators wanted to go back to their jobs.
Jedi Rebellion.
Yeah, that's true.
He foiled the rebellion that way.
The clones, I guess. Also, a little fun fact. In the movie, when Palpatine wants to go to Mustafar to pick up his apprentice, he asks for Captain Kargi to prepare his shuttle. Captain Kargi was never seen in anything, despite being mentioned in the film. But apparently, some trivia quiz confirmed that he was a clone pilot. And here's the thing. In 2010, they made a Lego set based on Palpatine's shuttle from this movie. It includes a clone pilot minifigure. It's the only time we've ever seen Captain Kargi.
Anything else on duels?
Shoot, I was muted. Dang it. I wish we had gotten the fight between the weapons master and Anakin that we see a glimpse.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name? He's from
Sindralic.
Yeah.
Which is an anagram for Nick Gillard, who's the choreographer of the prequels and the guy who
Exactly.
played him.
Yep.
I wish that he got his yellow lightsaber. The actor wanted the Eth Koth lightsaber hilt plus a yellow blade, but no, he had to have a green blade. I guess you can only have a yellow blade if you're all the Jedi.
So you have to have a yellow blade. You have to be a girl to have a yellow blade. That's a pattern.
You have to be all the Jedi.
Well, I was just saying because what's her name? KOTOR.
Bastila Shan?
Bastila. Yeah. She has a yellow one.
So did that guy on your profile picture. He's not a girl.
Yes, but he used it sometimes. They switched them around and they traded them.
Micah Giat, Yoda, Yarael Poof, the Powan guy we noticed earlier.
I was just making a joke.
Yeah.
Because if someone says yellow lightsabers, usually we'll raise the main one. But then
No, she's not. No, my boy Plo Koon is the main one.
sorry, I'm talking like main audience. Like if this was like on, a game show and it was like, who has a yellow lightsaber? Majority of people would say Rey because, not the hardcore fans like us.
Did you know even Yoda had a yellow lightsaber at one point?
I did know that. That was in the that one Tales comic, right?
Yaddle, the one below, and also Force Fiction.
Yes.
I kind of like Yoda with a yellow blade. Kind of reminiscent with how like the early comics and toys all had yellow lightsabers, so it kind of fits with Yoda having one.
All right. Is that it on duels?
Yep.
Okay. Music.
Oh, 10 out of 10. But John Williams' new music is phenomenal, but I noticed a lot of the music is also reused from Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. For example, the infamous Jedi Temple March, that's actually an unused bit from Attack of the Clones, and it actually plays twice in this film. It also plays when we see Kashyyyk for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Another bit that's reused from Phantom Menace is when like Grievous' ship topples over. That's Escape from Naboo, and when they have their happy landing, that's when Anakin destroys the Trade Federation battleship in Episode 1.
Yep.
Palpatine executing Order 66 is like when the Senate keeps arguing in Episode 1, so that's like an important scene. Why not make new music for that? The music in this film feels a lot. Excuse me.
I was just gonna say, I feel like with Episode 3, borrowing music tones from the other movies kind of shows how whatever that was led into where we are now. So like you have Anakin being a great pilot as a kid, being successful in things. Then you get to see him, crash land the ship, be able to fly. Or like Palpatine manipulating the senators, and then it's now I've manipulated the galaxy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I like how the new music in this film sounds very moody and serious, which suits the movie. And I feel like all the Star Wars movies, at least like from the original 6, have a very unique tone to them where you can tell which movie a piece is from, even if you don't directly recognize it.
I see what you're saying.
But yes, there are a lot of iconic pieces in this film, like Padme's ruminations, the Battle of Heroes. Oh, Quinlan Voss says hello.
I wish they would release the extended soundtracks on like Spotify and maybe do a release or something.
They never even released I Am the Sith.
The boss.
Hello, Quinlan.
What's up? Sorry, I'm late.
Hey, Brendan.
Hello, welcome.
I thought I was late.
Yeah, I'm in Montana right now. So, yeah.
Yes, you said something about a hotel room. Did you see the new comic dub?
The one that got uploaded earlier, I saw it in my subscriptions.
Yes. Okay. Well, that guy that the guy that John Ostrander and Jandis Simmer named after you, he's in it, and it's his most canon appearance ever.
Of course, yeah. I'm looking forward to checking it out. I've been in and out of Wi-Fi, so I was just glad to see y'all were still going. How's the Revenge of the Sith convo been?
Pretty good.
About as epic as the
pretty good.
movie. Just
Yeah.
kidding. I don't. It would be pretty hard to be as epic as the movie and people sitting in circles talking. But
Yeah,
Happy revenge, happy revenge anniversary.
indeed. Did y'all share, I'm assuming, favorite moments earlier from the film?
Not
We
yet.
discussed the characters.
We're on. We did lightsaber duels. Now we're on the music.
Nice. Great music.
What's everyone's favorite music piece that is original to this film? If you don't mind me asking.
I would say probably the Order 66 montage.
Ooh.
Without fail, makes me tear up every single time I hear it. If I start it from start to finish, I will tear up. Cannot stop myself.
So,
Does that piece have a name?
Yes.
Anakin's betrayal.
Anakin's Betrayal. That is a good one, Keegan.
Battle of the Heroes.
Nice.
I don't know if this one has a proper name, but I like that uneasy music when Obi-Wan asks Anakin to spy on the Chancellor. That goes like.
Oh, yeah, that piece is great.
Yeah.
I used it in my dub of Old Wounds when Darth Maul describes that he's been stalking Obi-Wan for the past 13 years and was just barely off screen and all the time.
I always get hyped up whenever I hear Grievous's theme.
Oh, that's a great.
It's pretty hype.
Why was Grievous's theme not in TCW? Grievous shows up all the time.
Yeah, I feel like people would forgive it even more.
Grievous speaks to Lord Sidious. The music, that's the music when he lands on Utapau and speaks to Lord Sidious. That one was unreasonably awesome, and I don't know why John Williams went so all out on that scene. And it even gets reused briefly in his duel against Obi-Wan, but without the choir.
Right.
Oh, how could I forget? Anakin's Dark Deeds. I think that's my favorite music piece, actually.
So good.
The piece that makes me cry.
Battle of the Heroes is the Mustafar one, right?
Yeah, that's the Mustafar.
That's probably my favorite then.
Mine is
They're
my
like
favorite. Oh, sorry, was someone talking?
I want to say there are three pieces of music that played for the Anakin Obi-Wan fight. One is Battle of the Heroes. That's like from the end when Obi-Wan has the high ground. And in the beginning, it's just called Anakin versus Obi-Wan. And then in the middle, when there's the volcano exploding behind them, that's called The Boys Continue. And I had another fact for the track. Anakin's Dark Deeds. That's when he slaughters the Separatists and Palpatine makes a speech. The timpani percussion was recorded separately from the rest of the orchestra in that. And if you buy an older version of the soundtrack, if you listen to an older version of it, they forgot to edit it in. So on the older version, in the older soundtracks, it goes like do 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 do, and if you listen to it on the newer, it's like do 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 do.
That's such a fantastic vibe.
Hey, be careful. We might get copyrighted here. Two other ones that I just love. Padme's, what is it called?
Ruminations?
Yes, that one.
That is a good one.
Rare use of a synthesizer and stuff. Actually, not that rare, but rare use of a synthesizer that sounds like a synthesizer.
That scene, is the turn scene, and but then
what
the
theme
next
music did they have at the end when Vader was overseeing things?
Padme's funeral, and it's a remix of Qui-Gon's funeral from episode 1.
Right. That's really nice too.
And that one, I used that one in the Old Wounds comic too, when Obi-Wan has his flashback with basically his flashback of the prequel trilogy with all the movie voice clips playing. So it was used in that too.
I'd say the all-time for me is "I'm So Sorry."
Mhm.
Wait, that's part of Anakin's Dark Deeds.
It is, but it it has the part when Obi-Wan talks to Padme, and then which that part's not in the current soundtrack that they have.
Yes.
You have to go to you have to go to the extended, the complete soundtrack.
Yeah, that the complete soundtrack that had to be cut together by fans because Lucasfilm won't let us have it.
I thought they had released one.
No, they haven't. They're not officially.
Oh,
Like the music from the Darth Plagueis the Wise scene was never released and it didn't play often enough in video games to get a proper rip.
they actually have one in the current one now.
Yeah, but like you can still hear some voices in it. It
I
was
think it's
removed.
on Spotify.
Well-
They have it.
What's the name of the theme that's playing during Mustafar? Like the burning.
The immolation scene.
The immolation
immolation.
scene. Yeah, it fits it so well.
I think it sounds a bit I find it a bit difficult to differentiate it from Anakin's betrayal. I think they both sound pretty similar.
Yeah, definitely.
And with everyone speaks there.
The Darth
Didn't-
Plagueis scene is titled in the recent remastered Revenge of the Sith soundtrack. It's titled Palpatine's Teachings.
Ooh.
No,
Hmm.
Palpatine's teachings is a different. That's the one with the deep voices going. Oh, so
Isn't
that's the
that
one that's
Darth Plagueis?
no. The one that I'm looking for is that I'm not sure if it's like a string or a woodwind, but like when he says the name Darth Plagueis was a Dark Lord of the.
Oh,
it's
yes.
That one was also used in The Force Unleashed after you defeat Maris Brood. But other than that, and it was in the radio drama of Dark Lord. But other than that, it barely gets used in anything, despite the fact it sounds really beautiful.
Mm.
That's the one I'm looking for, and that does not have a clean release, unfortunately.
Crime
they-
shame.
Is there any music in this film that you guys thought was bad or subpar? Because I think it's pretty solid overall. Like,
I
can't go wrong with
think
the Star Wars soundtrack.
There's not a
is
bad
how I
moment,
feel.
I don't think.
I have one. I think
No,
the
totally.
duel against Count Dooku music wasn't that memorable. Like when the music swells in just when he enters the scene, that's great. Those kind of pathetic sounding strings after he's defeated, that's also great. But I think in the actual fight, it's just not. It's just a little overwhelming. It sounds a bit generic.
Mm,
Like, it's not bad though. It's but it could have been better, in my opinion.
probably so. How would the Revenge of the Sith soundtrack stack up for you guys against the other prequel films?
It's definitely one of the best.
I think what makes the Revenge of the Sith soundtrack probably the best of the three is it distills the best of the best from all three. So you get like Duel of the Fates and you get a lot of these other motifs which were introduced in the Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones, like the droid army and
Across
a
the
lot of those,
Stars.
Across the Stars.
I love
you get
Across
the
the
best of
Stars.
the best all in one spot, plus all this new stuff which is exclusive to this movie, and it just matches the story like beat for beat perfectly.
I don't have a favorite between all the prequel soundtracks. I think they're all very different from another, so it's difficult to compare, with the Phantom Menace sounding lighthearted and wholesome, and Attack of the Clones mysterious and suspenseful, and Revenge of the Sith dark, tragic, and moody.
Yeah. Attack of the Clones is almost thoughtful sounding too, I'd say.
The crazy thing with because you have Anakin's theme in the first one, which they don't really bring back in.
I feel like they're supposed to. That theme is supposed to represent Anakin at his most wholesome, and he is not at his most wholesome in Revenge of the Sith.
But I do notice with that piece, which I guess it makes sense with this, with what
I did notice one thing. I did notice one thing interesting about the music. Oh, sorry, were you saying something?
Oh, yes. So in Anakin's theme, if you listen to the full version, you can start to hear the Imperial
March.
Yeah.
And
then across the stars too, you start to hear it. And
something interesting I noticed is, were you finished?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay, so when Anakin tells Padme that he had dreams similar to when his mother died, you can actually hear Shmi's funeral music from Episode 2 playing. Obviously foreshadowing that even if he's not outright saying it, that he's afraid Padme will die just like his mother did. I think that's a brilliant detail.
I like whenever Palpatine refers to, I know it's not the music, but whenever he refers to, hey, you got your revenge just like with the Sand People, and then you hear a Tusken Raider scream.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool detail.
As it fades into an explosion. As a kid, I was like, what? What is this? And I still get excited when I hear that.
Music's definitely solid for the film, as for all the prequel films, as for all the Star Wars films. It's really great.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think other than Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith has the second most nostalgic soundtrack for me. And we probably have the radio dramas by Oliver During to thank for that, because obviously Labyrinth of Evil and Dark Lord Rising are very close to Episode 3 and therefore use a lot of its music.
All right, is that it for music?
I think so.
All right. Let's see. What's your favorite scene from Revenge of the Sith?
I'm a Jedi guy, so even though it pains me because they're all dying, probably the Order 66 scene, because we get to see all of the Jedi, and it's tragic, and it hurts my heart, and it hurts my soul, but it's so well shot. The music is fantastic. It's definitely my favorite.
Mine's probably whenever Anakin is in the council chambers and he's hearing all of the words and he's having that inner conflict. He hears you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
He's looking off.
Padme's Ruminations is playing.
Oh yeah.
I don't have a favorite moment. The whole movie is just full of great moments.
Me too. But
same.
Even General Grievous getting out of his ship running. Fantastic. My wife.
His death scene is pretty funny too.
Yeah, you just.
It looks like something from a different movie. It doesn't look Star Wars to me. Like it's just amazing.
Would you have preferred if they kept the original version where Obi-Wan pulls his brain out and throws it on the ground and shoots it?
That would have been absolutely gory. Too gory for Obi-Wan. It makes sense why they changed it.
Yeah.
My wife compares me to Grievous whenever, because I have allergies constantly, and so I'm always coughing and all that stuff, and she's just like, "That's you right there." And I was like, "Thanks." That's funny because that's my avatar on YouTube.
Oh yeah, fine additions. Do you, Brady, was your allergies caused by Mace Windu just like force choking you? Is that the reason?
Yes.
Makes sense. Okay. That explains a lot about my seasonal allergies as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I guess Mace Windu must have crushed your ribs when you were fighting on Coruscant.
Yeah, he's just going around vape-patting everyone. Yeah.
I have allergies. No. I have Mace Windu crushed ribs syndrome.
That's hilarious.
I would-
have
I
think
would
I'd
say
have-
something about Palpatine, but his voice sounds noticeably different after meeting Windu.
Oh, true. Mace Windu's just a he's just a serial voice changer. That's what he is.
Yeah, like when Obi-Wan set Anakin's lungs on fire, that's just Mace Windu getting revenge from the grave.
Do you think Mace Windu just like invented auto-tune in the Star Wars galaxy as well? Like he's just a walking synthesizer.
I think I'd have to say my favorite scene is probably just Anakin versus Obi-Wan. It's just such a epic sequence. Love it from start to finish.
It's shot so well.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Yep. Mine's either Anakin's march on the Jedi Temple or Owen looking at the twin sunset on Tatooine.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
My favorite.
The-
Excuse me.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's so cool that Anakin's march is called Nightfall, right? Like that's
Ooh.
just sounds so cool.
Yeah, I don't think that's from the movie. I think that's from Battlefront 2.
No, yeah, Operation Nightfall. Yeah.
My favorite moment in Revenge of the Sith is when Mace Windu calls Ahsoka a citizen. I don't have a favorite moment. It's all great.
All right. Favorite character from Revenge of the Sith?
No Kiadi
Obi-Wan
Mooney
again.
fans?
What about the droid attack on the Wookiees? I love Kiadi, but like for characters who are like actually having a role, man, it's hard not to love Obi-Wan. He gets to be both funny but also have legitimate tragedy going on in his life, and that could not have been easy to balance. But yeah, he gets to be both funny but also loses everything in this movie.
Obi-Wan's the correct answer for sure. I feel the same.
Yeah. What? Not Quinlan Voss? I mean, he got mentioned, right?
He did
I was
move his
gonna
troops.
say-
He moved his troops into Boz Pity, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did. Wait, wasn't he
I
on
would have been heartbroken if they killed him.
Wasn't he on Kashyyyk when Order 66 got issued? Not on Boss
Yeah,
Pity.
Boz Pity was the refit before. One of the comics mentions that, I think, as well. I think it's actually in Dark Empire, or sorry, Dark Times. It mentions that he met briefly with Kakruk and Jisoo and said bye to them and said that he was going for a refit on Boz Pity, and they were like, "Oh, it's General Voss," and then he moved from there into Kashyyyk.
I had that comic when I was a kid. I should not have been reading Dark Times when I was 7 years old.
There's some traumatizing stuff in there.
I'm just glad I didn't get to the part where we find out what happened to the Greenbark family.
Brutal.
I didn't get to that until I was an adult, and I'm glad.
Yeah, I read that when I was 12. I was like, holy crap, this is crazy.
I think I was an adult whenever I read that. Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah.
So, what are y'all's favorite characters from Revenge of the Sith, Brady and Lars Jedi?
It's
Oh,
hard.
you go first, Brady.
It's hard between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Because I mean they're the main characters, they're the most expanded upon ones.
Actually,
What's
maybe Palpatine's my favorite character.
I was
He's
going to
amazing
go
in this.
there. Maybe Palpatine. I think side character. Padme's kind of a side character. I wish she had the deleted scenes added back in. I wish they did a 20-year anniversary extended version that they put in the theaters, because those scenes were great. But with all fun, just for fun, General Grievous, I'll say
General Grievous is super fun.
yes.
My
I
favorite
noticed
character. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring this up, but when he arrives on Utapau, I noticed the entire Separatist Council is there. Nobody says hello, nobody greets him, but they're all there lined up. I don't even know why they put them there. But anyway, went out of their way to put them there.
Probably for him to bypass them because Palpatine's more important.
Paschal Argente is the key to all of this.
My favorite scene, going back to that, from my favorite character was when Jar Jar burped and then he said, "Excuse me."
I thought for a second you said Jar Jar birthed, and I was like, what movie was this?
That was a Clone Wars. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that was Bombad Jedi. Makes sense.
Did you know Bombad Jedi was written by the Tag and Bink guy?
Oh, why does that make sense?
That makes that so much better.
That actually adds up. Holy cow. Thank
I'm
you
not
for
joking.
making sense of this.
I think Kevin Rubio is his name.
Oh, yeah, that's
the guy.
right.
That's the guy who wrote Force Fiction and Tag and Bink and A Death Star is Born, and apparently also apparently also Bombad Jedi. I'm not joking. That's
my
true.
favorite episode of the Clone Wars now.
Who's the better Star Wars writer, this guy or Matthew Stover? Kevin Rubio, Matthew Stover, they've both written high literature across the board. It's a tight one. But Walrus Jedi, what did you say your favorite character was?
Oh, I was just gonna say it's probably Obi-Wan. I was never a huge fan of Anakin.
Same.
Because, well, he killed all the Jedi, and I'm a big fan of the Jedi. So, yeah, I've never been a huge Anakin fan, but...
Absolutely concurred.
Yeah.
Anakin killed Rey? I didn't know that. You said...
Who?
Said Rey. All the Jedi. You said that. Anakin killed all the Jedi. Wow.
Most of the Jedi.
He only missed like 300. He got most of them.
They're
like
just
what were
dead.
there like probably thousands in the galaxy, and who survives Order 66? What, a couple hundred?
Tag and Bink are canon in the Disney canon now, and they were never. They're more canon now than they've ever been.
Yeah, they were never canon to Legends. That was always Infinities, as far as I'm aware. So
now they're canon to the Disney canon. It's wild. What's next?
That is pretty wild.
Be the Jedi droid. We'll have to find out.
I can't wait for the George R. Binks. I can't wait for the George R. Binks special on Disney Plus.
That is canon to me.
They canonized the Emperor's court because apparently the Emperor is the judge of his own. Well, not the Emperor, but Palpatine is the judge of his own court in an episode of the Clone Wars.
That's true. Oh my gosh, I remember the Emperor's court from Tales.
Yeah, so you got Brennan, you got to remember that when you decide whether that canon is EU.
It's
canon.
in my head now. Looks like it's gonna have to be in continuity.
Yep. Good. It's a good thing we now know that Greedo's mom canonically sued Han Solo, and he tried to fake his innocence with like an edited visual.
All right. Is there any thing interesting that, say, the Revenge of the Sith comic does differently than the movie?
Kit Fisto has dialogue. That's something that stood out to me.
That's better than the movie then.
Yeah.
R.I.P. R.I.P. the smiley guy. He's what makes me sad is he's so cool in the EU. Whether it's Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, whether it's the Republic comics, or even Filoni's TCW, Kit Fisto always shines. So it's always so disappointing that his journey ends in that chamber there.
That's my
We
daughter's
The
favorite
novel.
character.
Have y'all read the novel? It's gory what it depicts for his death.
Yeah. He actually brings up the Cestus Deception too. So that's a
Yep.
nice continuity there.
It was nice. And the way he describes his lifeless eyes and like the smile still on his face as he's wow. Crazy stuff there. But
Also,
as far as the comic book, it's been a long time since I read it. I think that Attack of the Clones comic is most notable to me because it establishes that my boy Quinlan Voss fought at the Battle of Geonosis, which is kind of a interesting thing all in its own. But that comic to me is more notable as a movie adaptation comic than the Revenge of the Sith one. The Revenge of the Sith one was kind of forgettable to me.
Yeah.
Barriss O'Fee gets killed off in it. And I think Kit Fisto's only dialogue is saying, "Hey, Anakin's what's up?" When Anakin tries to tell Mace Windu that Palpatine's a Sith Lord. What was I gonna say?
While you
but-
think about, go ahead.
No, I lost my train of thought. You go ahead.
So Kit Fisto is my daughter's favorite character because she reads some of the comics and
bless her.
the cartoons and all that stuff.
He was my favorite as a child.
Amazing, you're succeeding as a father.
Yes. And so she was
You're
like,
succeeding in
"Hey,"
every way, Brady.
she was like, "Hey, why doesn't Kit Fisto and Luke Skywalker like do stuff together, like hang out or
Oh
whatever?"
man.
And I was like, well, he's this was before I showed her Revenge of the Sith. Or maybe she had seen it and she just didn't remember because she grew attached to Kit Fisto later. I was like, well, he died. What? When? And so I pull up the scene. 2 seconds. He has 2 seconds of screen time. And it's just him getting killed. And she was sad.
The Revenge of the Sith comic, was it Doug Wheatley who did the art for it? I think.
I don't know.
If memory serves.
I don't know.
I remember it being a step down from Jan Duursema because she did Attack of the Clones.
Everyone is a step down from Jan Duursema. There is no upping Jan Duursema.
So true.
But one thing I noticed about Revenge
Doug
of the
Wheatley's pretty
Sith-
good though. He did Dark Times.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense that you want a consistent feel between Dark Times and the Revenge of the Sith comic. Always have the Revenge of the Sith soundtrack
Totally.
in my head when I do read Dark Times. But the Kit Fisto mask, he doesn't speak in the movie. He doesn't open his mouth, but we see on promotional photos that the Kit Fisto mask had some really freaky teeth. And I don't know why they gave him these disgusting sharp teeth, because every source depicts him having a beautiful smile. It's in the last film, it's in the Tartakovsky show, it's in the comics. Even Dave Filoni got the memo that Kit Fisto needs to have a beautiful smile. So what happened in Revenge of the Sith?
He's definitely a testament to Coruscant orthodontics at the Jedi Temple. I do think at least the movie makes Agent Kolar and Saesee Tiin look just terrible, but at least Kit Fisto I think he blocks the lightsaber twice, maybe. He gets a couple defensive moves in there before biting the dust, but yeah. R.I.P.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Rest in peace, Kit Fisto.
All
Shame
right.
he didn't get to do that much.
Yeah. All right. Anything else about Revenge of the Sith?
Revenge of the Sith. I think the last thing I noticed about the movie is just why is Oliver Ford Davies listed as co-starring when all he did was have a brief mute cameo as C.O. Bibble at Padme's funeral when he gets listed in the credits before Christopher Lee or Mace Windu. It's incredible. Apparently, C.O. Bibble was also in the Clone Wars at some point. I don't remember him in that show at all. I don't know what else to say about Revenge of the Sith. Have you seen that clip from the Attack of the Clones documentary where Lucas said, "I'm already shooting a scene for Revenge of the Sith now, so I don't have to go back here later." The wonders of actually planning your story ahead.
Yep.
Disney could never.
Nah, never. What else? Is Ayla Secura the only EU Jedi, like the only character who was introduced in the EU and killed in a movie? We're not talking about characters like Boba Fett or Grievous who were technically introduced in the EU but not made for
Right.
the EU.
I think it might be, honestly.
Well,
She's gotta
Yes.
be.
I guess yeah, that would have to be it. Sorry, I'm back. I had to put my daughter to sleep.
oh, okay.
Tell her Kit Fisto lived to meet Luke Skywalker.
Oh, it's the other daughter, Jaina.
Oh,
Jaina.
what a flex. What a flex. I
Jaina,
always
isn't she
wanted to
related
name-
to Luke?
Yeah, I always wanted to name my son Jason when I was a little kid because I always loved that name and that character, you know.
I tried. Well, I mean, we have a girl, but I tried. I was like, if we have twins, can we name them Jason and Jaina? And she goes, I like Jaina, I don't like Jason because we know two Jasons. So,
But do you know a Jacen?
that'd be even harder to sell. If I sold it as Jason, or if I sold it as Jason, she would always think Jason, and she didn't want it to be confusing for people.
She's probably just worried for the kid's aunt.
She doesn't have an aunt, so.
So true. My aunt asked me one time, I'm not even kidding, my aunt one time asked me about who my favorite Star Wars character was. As I was describing them, she made a face at the bit where I said my favorite character kills his aunt. It was quite comical.
She was like, huh?
I was just gonna bring that up. Quinlan also kills his aunt.
Oh, wait, you're right. Dang, I guess my favorite character is Quinlan and Jason. Jeez.
Oh no, the
This
ant
is
killer.
not a good look. Yeah.
Your
I feel
poor
like
aunt.
Quinlan and Jason would have gotten along really well. They're kind of the same character from two different eras.
What? I haven't gotten to Jason. I haven't gotten to Darth Kitus yet. Sorry.
But that is a long way down the road chronologically since we're doing a live stream about Revenge of the Sith.
It's only like what, 20 years, 30?
No, now it's Revenge. Now it's Revenge of the Nephews.
Revenge of the Nephews.
Yeah, he doesn't turn bad until like 50 years from now, I think.
Did Cade kill his aunt?
He probably wanted to.
He almost killed his mom, I think.
What is that? That would have been Nat Skywalker's wife. She's a descendant of Quinlan Vos, actually.
Oh my gosh. You're right.
Wait a
Remember
minute.
that?
It's all full circle.
The prophecy.
Are there any other ant killers in Star Wars?
Oh my gosh, Darth Vader killed his aunt. Not his aunt, that was his sister-in-law, sorry. Indirectly. Luke,
Indirectly, he got Aunt Beru killed.
by not being there to be killed, I guess.
And I think
It's
Baru
so
would have
sad
died
how
anyways.
it's so sad how Revenge of the Sith ends with Owen and Beru so hopeful and
No,
optimistic with the sun,
listen.
and then they just bite the dust like 15 minutes in the next movie.
Listen, Aunt Beru got killed by Leia. Leia killed her aunt, technically speaking, because she sent R2 down there. And that got Aunt Beru killed.
The domino
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah,
Or
that reminds me.
Oh, no. Skippy the Jedi droid got Aunt Beru killed.
Skippy the Sith droid. Okay, I know this is a legend stream, but I have to bring this up because I just learned this. Do you know when the movie Rogue One takes place?
Moments before the original.
Nope.
What
1
is it?
BBY. It takes place a whole freaking year before A New Hope somehow.
Well, it's like the whole
I don't like Rogue One.
the dating for that and the dating for just that whole time period is confusing because it's like when do you count the beginning of Zero?
When the Death Star gets blown up. That's literally the point, and there's no way that even that there was a whole A New Hope does not take place over the course of 1 year. There's no way
it could
that
be like year one year before, a part of the year before the Battle of Yavin, at the last month, or the last week of the. I mean, that's kind of how they date it, because it wasn't Zero. Was Zero BBY? Was that a whole year, or was that just the battle?
Don't try to make it make sense, because I find it hard to believe that even a month passed between the end of Rogue One.
Yeah, Zero
and
BBY and Zero ABY in the Zero BBY and Zero ABY in the EU are just anywhere from 1 to 11 months before or after.
So
one or
let's
more
say-
means 1 year to 1 year and 11 months.
But that's like
let's
it
say
would be
it's
like
at the-
saying. Sorry, but it would be like saying the
Rogue One
end
would have
of
to
the
be set in
Tartakovsky-
0 BBY for it to make sense.
It would. It would be like saying that the end of the Tartakovsky Clone Wars takes place a year before Revenge of the Sith. It just
Yeah, it would
doesn't.
be saying like
Well,
it would be like saying the final chapters were set in 23 BBY, right?
that's the difference between because you guys are setting Rogue One in the EU logical dating system, but what I'm saying is the canon logical dating system, which still doesn't make a lot of sense. But like,
I heard it's pretty like complex. I'll say
maybe
that.
I don't know. I feel like the EU one is just as like.
I heard the Rogue One source book. I don't know if this is true or not. I heard the Rogue One source book introduced a new dating system that wasn't ABY and BBY, and apparently fans were like really mad at the time it came out. Like I saw some old Reddit posts about that.
I don't know if it was Rogue One. I remember there was there was some book that tried to have the destruction of Starkiller Base be the new dating system, and
Yeah.
Don't even try that. It's not gonna be.
That's so weird. Why would you set the primary date near the end of the timeline? I think that BBY ABY is even a bit too late for the EU timeline. So like, I mean, it works perfectly for movies 1 to 6 as the medium.
Yeah.
But
with Andor, they just completely threw whatever that before the Battle of Starkiller Base, whatever. They threw all that out the window, because now in visual media, ABY is that's the dating system. And so that's the official. In Andor, it starts off each of the story arcs with 3 ABY. No, BBY, sorry. before the Battle of Yavin, and
So they can't even stay consistent to their own dating system.
But the visual media is the canon, because it's higher. It's a higher tier than the books and stuff.
Even though Kennedy told us that they were all going to be one tier like a decade
Well,
and a half
that
ago.
happened, and then Force Awakens came out, and Pablo was like, "Actually, guys, the reason that Han Solo doesn't say the same things that he said in the movie as in the book, the movies have a higher canon, and so now
So we do have a tier system.
we had
we have an unofficial tier system. In the EU, we actually had an official tier system.
We have however official you'd say Pablo Hidalgo's word is, but I guess that's a reliable man. People were annoyed with that comment. They were like, "What the heck?"
Who would you rather trust, Pablo Gil or Pablo Hidalgo?
Who?
Pablo Gil is a member of the Jedi Council, I believe. I think he was on the council. I know he was next to Kit Fisto when they lit up their lightsabers in Episode 2. And he has given me no reason to distrust him. He's a Jedi, so he seems pretty trustworthy.
I mean, he's probably named after Pablo Hidalgo. Is that
probably Pablo Hidalgo has characters named for him in multiple EU books. He has at least 3 characters named for him. He has one in the Han Solo books, who later appears in Supernatural Encounters, and he has one in no, not there. He has 2 that came out of Revenge of the Sith, and then those characters appeared in Supernatural Encounters as well.
Yeah.
Janu Gaddafi and Talib Gaddafi are the 2 characters, I believe.
Actually, Brennan, do you know who the special guest in my latest, formerly latest comic that was in Deveronian version Part 1?
Is it Pablo Gil, the trustworthy Angry?
No, it's not Pablo Gil.
No, I do not. You might have told me, but I may have forgotten.
Okay. Darn it. In case none of you knew, okay, I'm gonna make it dramatic now. I got an EU legend to be in, to have a small voice role in the Deveronian version Part 1. And it's the Mandalorian, the Mythosaur, the Legend Spanner, John Ostrander.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Okay, so I did... Wait, never mind. Let me check. Google says that Rogue One took place in 0...
It should. It should, but Wikipedia says something else.
That's Wikipedia. We can't trust them. We can trust them with little things.
We can't trust the current state of Disney canon to give a reliable, consistent, cohesive dating system for their timeline. I don't know who I can trust. It's like a thriller spy movie out here.
I wonder if they consider like the start of the movie as the canonical time, because I could see some time go throughout the movie.
Yeah, but like they're like referring to events like when they go to Scarif and steal the plans. They say that happened in 1 BBY.
Okay, so timeline.
I guess Leia just sat on the plans for a year. She's like, they sent us hope. Let's
wait a year.
So
let's wait a year.
Okay, so it says this before the release of Star Wars Timelines, which is the official canon timeline book. It was noted that Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and the end of Rebels occurred at 0 BBY. However, Timelines pushed these events into 1 BBY, leaving Star Wars A New Hope alone in 0 BBY. So yes, it sounds like B0 is the only time. So it's not a year like it works in the EU.
That's so weird.
because
Then
like
what-
that's the only time.
That just doesn't work for me. But
No,
I'm gonna
it
have to
doesn't.
hop off. So thanks for having me on, Walrus Jedi.
It was
Yeah,
nice
of
seeing
course.
you.
It's nice to talk to you boys.
Thanks for being on.
Have a good one.
Yeah. See you.
Yeah, see ya.
See you later.
Goodbye.
Nice-
It was nice
see
having
what
you
you
there.
guys- I see what y'all are talking about now.
Happy revenge anniversary.
I wonder if at the end of Andor they say 0 PPY and then just completely retcon the other one because, as you know, we all can agree how the EU does the dating system does work pretty well, I guess.
All right. Let's any last thing about Revenge of the Sith before we wrap up?
I bought an old 2005 Lego set from the Revenge of the Sith line to
Ooh.
kind of celebrate the movie. It's the 80 RT. And the funny thing is, I remember I found parts from that set that only came in that set in my room at some point, but I have no memories of ever owning that thing before. But yeah, it's a cool set. It does age pretty well. Comes with an exclusive clone. There's a little blaster at the side. It was in the Lego Star Wars video game, so that's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I got that and the speeder bikes from 1999. That's pretty
Nice.
cool.
Awesome.
Whenever it came out, I had the Gerald Grievous's Chase. Like
Oh, I always wanted that one. That's also from 2005.
that is
I
my
want-
first Lego Star Wars set.
I want
Not
that
a few
one.
months before, I had some other just assortment of Legos or like the robots, whatever. But then after that, I got the Clone Trooper Battle Pack and the Droid.
Yeah, I had that one too. I had those as
Nice.
well.
And those were the templates to my obsession that is now taking up my basement.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Grievous arms would always break off. I need to find
Yeah.
it and piece it back together. Do like a review on it
You probably should, yeah.
because I've got it. Here, let me see if I can find it. I don't know. I might find it after the stream if you guys are doing after show or anything. But the Legos, the toys, so much nostalgia for me because I was maybe not the perfect age, but I was just at the right age to get just thrown into Star Wars. I saw the movies, the original trilogy, the prequels, and then I got to get excited. I saw the Clone Wars as it was coming out right before Episode 3, the original Clone Wars. But this was like the hype movie of my childhood. But yeah, that's my final words, I guess.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone that commented, and thank you to Autotect for coming on, and Brady and
Yeah, no problem.
Quinlan Ross and Star Wars fan animations.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, it was nice talking Revenge of the Sith with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Be happy to do so again.
yeah. Well,
let's
I'm
go for
planning on
30
doing
years.
oh, go ahead.
No, let's go for 30 years. Mark your
Yep.
calendars, boys.
I'm planning on doing a live stream in November talking about A New Hope. So,
Did you talk about the first two prequels already?
yes, I did.
I missed the Phantom Menace one, darn it. I like that movie a lot.
It's okay. Well, we could always do a Phantom Menace 30th anniversary stream.
Okay. See you
So-
in 4 years.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So, yeah, there will be links to everyone's channel in the description. I'll have to add Autotext, but yeah. So, all right. I think that will be it for the stream.
Goodbye. Thanks for having us.
Yep.